In 2007, the Pew Research Group did a study and they determined that there were 19 million nones, N-O-N-E-S, those who were completely unaffiliated with any sort of religious belief system. That's within the United States, 19 million people. By the year 2014, that number was 56 million people. In an outstanding book called Start with the Why, Simon Sinek suggests that all great vision must keep in mind the why we do what we do. And here at Bridgeway, that drives everything that we're about. When we think about 56 million people that are completely unaffiliated with any sort of religious or spiritual belief system, that's more than just 56 million people who haven't adopted a worldview. For us, that means that's 56 million people who have no knowledge or experience of the best way of living, which for us is the Jesus way. And we believe that the best way to impact that number is through the planting of new churches. Studies after study shows that the best way to reach those who are unreached by the gospel of Jesus Christ is to establish new faith communities. So here at Bridgeway, we have gone all in. We are putting all of our eggs in the one basket of church multiplication. Now, we also understand that you can't multiply churches. You can't just plant churches. That doesn't just happen out of thin air. There's got to be an intentional process through which leaders are developed and communities are cultivated to be the fertile ground out of which these churches are planted. So as a part of that, what we've made the decision, if we're going to be all in to this vision of church multiplication, because our why is clear and there are so many people that have yet to come to know the good news of Jesus Christ, then we said, if that's the reality, what we need to do is establish a church plant residency program. And what that means is that we're going to create an environment, an atmosphere at the Bridgeway locations around our community where men, women of all diversity can come and find themselves locked in for a period of about 18 months where they're going to be equipped, trained, and poured into to ensure that they have all that we can potentially give them and that they've been given space to dream and imagine God's big dream for not only their lives, but the community that God is going to call them to.
I think the most helpful part so far in the residency program is to be around so many like-minded thinkers that are in the same walks of life as me in terms of other planters. It would be one thing if I was the only resident at a residency program, but I'm surrounded currently by 3 other like-minded residents, and so we're able to bounce ideas off of each other and share different things that we're learning and what we're developing with our own projects.
As a part of this church plant residency program, we're going to break this 18 months down into 3 6-month periods. In the first 6 months, this is what we call our assimilation and integration phase. We want to bring you in. We want you to get to know the people of Bridgeway. We want you to get to know the church staff, how we're set up, how we're organized, the systems and structures that we have in place. What drives us? See, here at Bridgeway, we measure things differently than a lot of churches. A lot of churches measure their significance by nickels and noses. How many people are in the pews each week and how much money's raised. Here at Bridgeway, we have a different metric altogether. Gospel saturation, reaching people with the gospel of Jesus Christ, them becoming baptized and becoming fully devoted disciples of Jesus. Local community transformation. What does it mean to say that we matter to a community? And church multiplication. What does it mean to say that we are equipping people and communities to multiply on a micro and macro level over and over and over again? You've got to come and be a part of us. Get to drink in the atmosphere and the culture of who Bridgeway is. In that second 6 months, we do what's called core competency development. We want to ensure that you have the gifts and graces and the training necessary to take seriously all the details, all the intricacies, and all the strategic planning that's going to be required to launch a church and then sustain it and maintain it in a healthy manner for the long haul. And then in the last 6 months, we're really going to focus on the strategic development of your plan to plant. Where is God calling you to? And then what are the steps once you arrive at that location to begin the process of saying, hey, we're going to do this. It's time to launch. It's time to go. It's time to see God birth a new community in this area where God's kingdom can burst in and people's lives can be reached with the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Part of the residency has been equipping me for what God has called me to be. And so outside of my own self, I couldn't do that. And so the residency, even so far, has brought out a whole bunch of characteristics that I was lacking prior to, that I had no idea. Some of the things I've been able to work on in the program that it has brought out is administration, tangible to-do lists and checking things off and getting processes ironed out and solidified, as well as strategic vision. And so it's helped format what that vision needs to be in order to be effective.
So here at Bridgeway, we have a very clear vision. We believe that God has called us to ignite a movement of culturally relevant, radically loving, rapidly reproducing churches, spreading hope throughout the world. And for us, that has a twofold strategy attached to it. The first of which is we feel called to influence or impact 100 church plants locally, nationally, and globally by the year 2030. Now, how on earth is that possible? How can a church that was started in Morton, Illinois, that's now in Pekin, that's soon to have campuses in both Market Heights, Illinois, and Morton, Illinois, going to influence or impact 100 church plants through a church plant residency program? We believe that as we bring in men and women of all kinds of diversity and infuse the DNA of passionate church planting into them, that they can then go out and they can plant, and from there they can plant other churches, and there's this beautiful ripple effect that starts here but then gets out beyond us, where we're not in control of it anymore. We're just watching what God does. The second part of that strategy is to missionally impact 10% of the unchurched population in Tazewell and surrounding counties through a sprawling network of Bridgeway church campuses. Maybe you feel like you're not necessarily a church planter, but you would love to be a campus planter out of Bridgeway. Come talk to us. Let us know your heart. And there's multiple communities throughout our area and region that we would love to have local communities of faith that have the Bridgeway stamp to them. So we believe that this vision that God has given us, that is expansive and beautiful and challenging and a little intimidating at times, is something that we can give our lives away to. And maybe God is calling you to be a part of that as well.
So I think the best part about a church plant residency program is you get to experience different areas of ministry. So I came in off the streets green, never experiencing any areas of ministry, and now I'm getting to see what it's like to put together a worship team or a worship set. I'm getting to see what it's like to run a youth ministry, to see what it's like to run a children's ministry. So maybe you have been working in a church, maybe you've served in a church in a few different areas, but to be able to plant a church, to run a church efficiently, then you need to understand the whys, the whats, and the hows of every area of that church. And through a residency program, you get that experience. You get to work side by side with those people who are in the trenches every weekend, fighting it out for the kingdom of God, and see the whys, the whats, and the hows behind that.
You look across cities all over America, Raleigh, Peoria, little Morton, Illinois. But then you look beyond that. You can see Fort Lauderdale or Boston, Portland or Seattle. All across this country, there are families in cities that have zero connection with the hope found in Jesus Christ. What if God were calling our little spot in Pekin, Illinois, to be an epicenter, a sending ground for men and women who feel the call to go out into the world, to go out into these cities, locally, nationally, and even globally, like our church plant that's going to be taking place in Switzerland? What if we're an epicenter of training, equipping, investing, mentoring, coaching, and then, like an archer, rearing back, grabbing hold of the arrow, putting it on the bow, and launching it out, and watching God change lives through what happened in a town called Pekin, Illinois? What if that's the possibility? So we're trusting, we're praying, we're asking God to make it clear in your heart that this would be something that you could give your life away to. That the purpose and the passion for reaching those completely disconnected from Jesus Christ would be something you would say, you know what? I feel like God has given me a gift. He's He's invested me with this vision. He's entrusted me with this vision of planting an organic indigenous community in some town or community or city all across the state of Illinois, this country, and even globally.
It's been great to meet with mentors who you know are on your side, but are going to ask the tough questions, challenging questions, but questions driven out of love for you as an individual and with kingdom goals in mind, and have really been able to help me sift through and look at differently what I thought were goals and priorities at the moment, and help me realign. And it's been great. It's been challenging. Still working through the intricacies of changing some of the ways in which I do life and think about what it means to live this kingdom life.
So what if this is your moment? What if this is your opportunity? What if this voice that you've been hearing for some time now, that has burdened your heart to plant a church in the community that God has already shown you, what if this is your moment? And what if we're an opportunity for you to foster that vision? I want to encourage you to look at the links that are attached to this video. Apply with us soon. Let us at least begin a conversation with you about what it would look like to take the next 18 months of your life, invest them in a community that will make an investment in you, who's going to equip you and empower you and give you access to anybody that you would want to recruit and be a part of your church plant. What if this is an opportunity to build a relationship that will last, a relationship that will strengthen, encourage, and sustain you as you launch into what God has called you to be a part of His great, grand design of making known the name of Jesus Christ across this world?